Okay, without further ado, and man, we have a dude the doo-doo out of this one, right? We've been talking about this bullet for months. It's finally here. This is the 194 grain Lehigh Defense Maximum Expansion. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way first. This is part of a bullet testing series. We're testing 20 different bullets for mainly accuracy in 300 blackout. This is a special case though, because this guy, and there's one other bullet, it's actually the 200 grain Maker Rex bullet, are expanding bullets. All of the other ones we're testing are mostly match bullets, or they are hunting bullets that are not designed to expand at subsonic velocities. So these guys are kind of a special case. We're testing with two different guns. We've got a 16-inch barrel with carbine gas. We've got an 8.5-inch barrel with pistol gas, you know, in an SBR. So two different guns, and there's a whole playlist with all of our other bullet testing videos, and also an introduction video that goes over, you know, in great detail some of the reloading procedures we're going to use, the guns and the parts that make up the guns and all of that sort of crap. I'll probably be a little more thorough in this video, you know, explaining some stuff that maybe I haven't in the others, because I'm assuming people are probably going to watch this one and not necessarily be interested in all the others. But if you want the whole story, you need to check out the introduction video and some of the earlier videos. So I'll have links up here with the bubbles, and stuff will pop up to get you to the different playlists for our 300 blackout bullet testing series, and also the larger 300 blackout playlist that covers a ton more stuff. All right. So this is the bullet I've really been looking forward to testing, and we've held off. Like I say, we've been talking about this bullet for months, but I really wanted to. We've tested all of our other bullets in the 200 grain kind of area, and I wanted to do that so that we had really good information about how the guns were going to function and the different powders and stuff like that. So I feel like we're in a good place right now. We've got a good info. We've got good guns that are running well, that are shooting well. We know what to expect. So we're pretty much ready to rock. Let's have a really quick up close look at these guys. They are beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Solid copper as far as I know. See the big slits down the ogive? These things expand like crazy. I mean, they look like a freaking mechanical broadhead. The way they open up and really seem to tear up jack. Quite a lot of you know, these have been around a while. A lot of information out there about their performance, and people seem to have really good luck with them on hogs and deer and coyotes and that sort of junk. But it seems to be a lack of information, especially here on YouTube, about hand loading with these. You know, Lehigh also makes factory ammo, and you can find quite a bit of information about those and ballistic gel tests and all of that sort of junk. But a little bit lacking on the hand loading data, so that's what we're going to do today, brother. We're going to try to work up some loads with these guys. They are stupid expensive. They are ridiculously expensive. They are $77 for a box of 50, which comes out to about $1.50. $1.54 a piece. So yeah, hopefully they're going to be worth it. Hopefully they're going to perform well enough. And, you know, for their intended purpose, I mean, I guess unless you're doing high volume hunting, you know, maybe you're going out killing 20 hogs a day or something like that, maybe it would get a little pricey. But for me, I'm mainly worried about using them on some whitetail deer. I'm just going to need a couple, you know, hopefully. So, you know, I'm willing to pay that money since I don't really need a lot of them. And if they perform, then that's the way it goes. And the other thing, I mean, you know, and the same thing with Maker. I did find one other. There's another company, Outlaw Bullets or Outlaw State Bullets, that's making an expanding subsonic 300 blackout bullet. I may test that one at some point, but nobody else is doing this crap. You know, I don't see any offerings from Hornady or Sierra or Berger or Nosler or any of those people. So I'm happy to pay a premium, support these companies that are maybe trying to, you know, push the subsonic 300 blackout game as far as they can. So that's where we're at. We had a little poll on the channel, right? We've got 6 or 7 different 300 blackout powders we've been testing with, and we had a little poll to see what the subscribers wanted to shoot. Accurate 1680 was a no-brainer, so we're going to be using Accurate 1680. It's the best 300 blackout powder. That's the one you want to buy. You always want to have a pound of 1680 available. And the other, it was a tight race between Reloader 7 and Winchester 296, but Winchester 296 narrowly won. So Winchester 296 is the same powder as H110. So there's that. Reloader 7, great powder, but oh well, it lost. Let's see. Another cool thing, Lehigh has load data on their website. And not only do they have load data, they have separate load data for 16-inch and SBRs. I think their SBR data was a 10-inch. Yes, their SBR data is a 10-inch. That's cool. You know, they've got, and actually they shot Accurate 1680 for both. They did H110, Winchester 296, IMR 4227, and I think Lil Gun for the 16-incher. So load data on the website, that's always good. And for our purposes, it's important. It has an overall length, right? So they went with an overall length of 2.180. So that's what we're going to go with, 2.180. So we're pretty much ready to rock. Now, I mentioned the Maker Rex. This is another somewhat similar expanding bullet. I'm kind of shooting these videos at the same time. So they're going to be up at the same time. If you're watching this video, you should be able to slide right over and see the Maker Rex video posted as well. I thought about combining them, and actually, yeah, we took a poll on that as well, and we decided to split them separately. So I'm actually going to do 3 videos. This is going to be kind of the load workup video for the Lehigh. We're going to have a load workup video for the Maker, and then we're going to have a third video where we kind of pit them against one another, test them for accuracy, and also, yeah, I have made some ballistic gel. So we're going to do some Jello shots. So that'll be the third video. And if the weather holds up this weekend, I'm hoping to have all 3 of these videos done and uploaded at the same time. So that's the hope. So we should be able to get an idea of how these guys stack up against one another in that video. And I'm particularly interested, you know, most of the gel tests are done at point blank. Like, I want to shoot the gel at 100 yards. I want to see, does it still have enough energy at 100 yards to get some penetration and expand these guys. And, you know, hopefully they're accurate enough to where we can hit a little piece of gel at 100 yards. And that's what the plan is, because, yeah, I've actually cooked up 2 of these. So the plan is to chop this in half, end up with 2 blocks. So since it was 2 batches, so I want to basically have a block from each batch that we can use, you know, 1 for each bullet, so that we're getting a, you know, a fair comparison between the 2 bullets, because, you know, I'm sure there's some slight differences between my 2 batches, and, you know, the amount of gel I got to dissolve and all of that sort of stuff. So that's coming. That's kind of the plan. That's what's going on. Okay, where was I? Took a little break to get the gel back in the fridge. I ordered these in 2 separate orders. And they're actually consecutive lot numbers. Lot, yeah, 16068 and 6, and no, they're not. 68 and 89. So they're pretty, yeah, so 2 different lot numbers here. Because I had originally ordered 50 and then realized, like, yeah, I'm just not going to be able to do everything I want to do with 50 bullets. So ordered another. Well, I went ahead and weighed all of these guys. just to get an idea of how consistent they are. So let's have a little quick look at a chart of their weight dispersion. Not too shabby. Right there around 193.8, 193.9, and 194.0. None of them really crazy, you know. Was that total spread of 0.7 of a grain. So I would consider that pretty darn excellent. Pretty darn excellent. And I would expect no less. Let's see. Crap, I've been thinking about this video so long. I want to make sure to cover everything here. Yeah. The overall length, I was a little bit surprised whenever it's a tall order. We've only got 100 bullets. Like I said, we've got 2 guns. We've got 2 powders, so that makes kind of 4 different loads we need to work up. You know, a load for each powder in each gun. And trying to do that in 100 bullets, this is not going to be, we're not going to end up with the perfect load at the end, right? We're not going to have enough bullets to play around with overall length and really nail our, nail our charge weight perfectly, but hopefully we can get pretty close, and we've been doing a pretty okay job with the other bullets we've been testing. So we're going to follow the exact same methodology that's been serving us so well. And step 1 is to shoot 5 shots in each gun with each powder. And let's see, what did I do? Pardon me, if I can find there it is. Yeah, so the 5 shots, 0.3 of a grain increments. So what we're looking for is, number 1, velocity, right? We're looking to hit, our target is right around 1,050 feet per second. I found that in my area, at my elevation, at the temperatures I normally encounter, the supersonic threshold is generally around 1130. So 1050 is a good number, gives us enough headroom to where, we shouldn't have stray supers. And that's a pretty popular target, if you look around out there. 1050 is a pretty popular target. So that's kind of step 1, and I have already loaded and fired those rounds. So let's have a quick look at some of this footage. Yeah, let's start. 16-inch gun, accurate 1680. We're going to shoot 9.7 grains up to 10.9 grains. So let's get out there and see what happens. All right, we're going to start off with our 16-inch gun. Right, this is a 16-inch AR Stoner carbine gas barrel with 1 in 8 twist. So we'll see how it performs. We're going to load these guys one at a time, and we're going to use bolt hold open to judge whether or not, function. So with the carbine gas, I expect some issues with Winchester 296, but these first few loads with accurate 1680 should do just fine. Got a nice piece of sturdy poster board out at about 10 yards. So looking for nice round bullet holes, checking function, and gathering velocity data. So let's get started. The first load's 9.7 grains of accurate 1680. Now I'll tell you what, here on this first one, let's run it through, make sure we didn't get any weird markings on our round. A few little love scratches on the ogive there from the ride up in, but nothing bad, nothing I'm concerned about. So let's see if they'll shoot straight. All right, a little low on velocity there, aren't we? All right, I'm gonna go have a look at that bullet hole. All right, the bullet hole was just a little bit funky. Just kind of had that, little bit of a tail waggle. Nothing crazy, not a Not what I would consider a true keyhole, but we'll see how these others go. I tightened up the paper a little bit, you know, just to try and get... I probably should have went and bought like a one of those thick pieces of like foam board, but whatever. All right, next up is 10 grains. See how it does. Velocity was kind of weird on that one. .6. It looks like we got there in the end with the velocity anyway. Alright, let me have a look at those bullet holes again. Alright, those other bullet holes kind of look the same, just maybe a little bit of tail waggle going on there. Not so much that I'm worried about putting the suppressor on. I think we'll be okay. You know, it's not enough to like cause a baffle strike or something, but it might be enough to really hurt our accuracy. So we'll see later on. But as far as velocity goes, except for that one weird one, looks like we got where we needed to be in the end. Alright, so we were a little bit low. You know, our velocities weren't quite up high enough, but we got there in the end. So what we'll generally do at this point is have a look at a chart that plots those five shots. Ugh, man, that guy in the middle is screwing us up. I don't know what happened there. You never know what. It's really hard to try to gather this much data with only 5 shots. So you're going to have this occasionally where one just looks a little bit stupid. So if I drop that one that looks stupid, now that looks a whole lot better. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to drop that one shot that had the crazy velocity. And there is what we're left with. So what I do from this point is we want to pick 3 loads. And what we'll do is we'll load up 5 rounds of each of those loads and then load them up and then go out and shoot for groups and see which ones group better. We'll continue to get more velocity data, you know, to get idea of what sort of standard deviation these loads are. So that's kind of the plan. So if we look at this chart, what I want to go with is 10.6, 10.8, and 11.0. That should cover that area right there from about 1025 up to about 1175, or I'm sorry, 1075 very well. So as you can see, like our trend line on our graph crosses that 1050 feet per second line right at 10.8. So 10.6, 10.8, and 11.0. Yeah, so well, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the bullet holes once we get done here. But of course, accurate 1680 functioned the gun just fine. That's what we expected. Next up is Winchester 296 with the same gun, and carbine gas and this powder don't mix all that well. It's usually okay once we put the suppressor on, but you know, without the suppressor, doesn't always work out. So let's get out there. Alright, let's switch to Winchester 296. Our first load is 8.1 grains. I'm going to try and shoot these above those previous shots just to make sure we have enough room for 8.5-inch shots later. See what happens. No bolt hole open, but as I mentioned, we were expecting that. Especially since that one was, velocity was so low, 882. It probably would have been smart to work high or start high and work our way down, but we're not the brightest bulbs in the package here. Okay, 8.7 grains. Good deal. Let me look at those bullet holes. Yeah, those shots seem to be just like accurate 1680. Hopefully it's just my target kind of causing it, but I don't know. All right, let's switch out to the 8.5, see what it does. All right, so we were a good bit closer on velocities there. Let's have a look at the chart. Not a terrible chart, not a great chart, but you know, a good enough chart. What I want to do here is 8.7, 8.9, and 9.1. Yep, covers that sweet spot right around 1,050 feet per second pretty well. The function issues, like I said, those are expected, and you shouldn't experience those if you've got a 16-inch gun with pistol gas. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so now we switch over to the 8.5-inch gun, you know, the SBR, and we go back to accurate 1680. So let's get out there and see how that one does. Okay, same process with our 8.5-inch SBR. This is an 8.5-inch Rainier Ultra Match. It's also a 1 in 8 twist, and yeah, we'll see. So we already saw that little bit of possible stability issues with the 16, so I'm hoping it's not going to get worse with this guy. So first load. Now, I don't expect any function issues with this dude since we've got pistol gas, right? That should be fine. Our first load, 10.7 grains of accurate 1680. That bullet hole already looks better. Huh, we'll see if that's a trend. And also our velocity is right on the money. Oh, you know what I forgot to do with this guy? Was kind of cycle one through and just make sure we're not getting anything weird going on. Same sort of deal. Maybe a little, you know, a little nick or two from the feed ramps, but nothing bad at all. Good deal. Right in the heart of the velocity range. Let's have a look at those bullet holes. Good deal. So a couple of the bullet holes look a little bit better, but a couple kind of still look a little bit wobbly. No big deal. Okay, good function, just like we expected. You know, pistol gas, both of these powders going to run the gun flawlessly. So let's have a look at the chart. Yep, we were good to go with velocity, right? We chose our test charge as well. That's a good looking graph. And what we want to go with is 10.8, 11, and 11.2. Should cover the range pretty well. Now, one thing I didn't mention, I'm not accounting for velocity gain once we add a suppressor, right? So once we start shooting these 5-shot groups, we'll have the suppressor on. And I'm not accounting for any velocity gain because I found it's been hard to guess what's going to happen. So I found the best method just just go with what the chart says. Occasionally we end up with, you know, we missed our velocity target. And out of the 4 different scenarios, 3 loads, 12 different loads, there may be one gun and powder combination where we just don't end up with a good load, and that's just, it is what it is. So yeah, it is what it is. All right, last but not least, SBR with Winchester 296. All right, Winchester 296. Our first load is 9.1 grains. See how they do. A little bit hot on velocity here, but that's okay. What are you up to now? 9.7. Good deal. Good function all around, like we expected with our pistol gas. So, all right, let's get back inside, look at this velocity data, double check our bullet holes, and come up with some real loads to test with our suppressor. All right, good function. Let's have a look at the chart. Chart's not too bad. Not too bad. And I think what we're going to go with is 8.8, 9.0, and 9.2. So that should cover our sweet spot pretty well. So that's it. So we've spent 20 bullets, and we've got some loads identified for each of our scenarios. Let's have a quick look at these bullet holes. And yeah, let's see. Seen this with other bullets. Most of them are not bad at all. Not bad at all. But they kind of have, let me find one that really, yep, there's one right under the 8.5 there. Just a little bit of a smear there to the left. And I don't know, a little bit there as well. I think I mentioned while we were out there that it may have something to do with my target. I'm using poster board, you know, like you used for arts and crafts in kindergarten. A more rigid board to shoot into may have been better, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. They're stable enough. I think they're stable enough to go ahead and put my suppressor on and not freak out too much about. But if we continue to see, you know, stability like this, I would expect them not to group. So if they group, I'll consider this as probably a fluke. If they don't group, then this might be a good clue as to what might be going on. And I think I mentioned, I'm testing the Maker Rex bullets at the same time, right? So I've shot the Maker Rexes as well. They were worse. They were a little bit worse. Let me give you a quick look. Not much, but a little bit. So they kind of do the same thing. And as I mentioned, we've seen this with some other bullets as well. So we're just going to have to see what's going on. I read a thread, I think it was on 300 Black Talk, that forum, that was, you know, 20 pages long, crazy long thread where guys were talking about precisely this. They were seeing bullets going through paper a little bit funky. The guy who owns, I guess, you know, the owner of Maker Bullets got on there and helped out. It was about Maker Bullets. So I don't, you know, it still hasn't come to a conclusion. Actually, once I get these done, I'm going to post my information there as well, just to kind of add to the discussion. But we'll see. We'll see how they group. But I think both of them are good enough to where we can go ahead and move on to our accuracy testing. But I'm still a little bit worried that they might not shoot. We've got our loads. We've talked way too much. I think we're ready to load. So let me get resituated. We'll get to loading, and I'll talk about a couple things that, that we need to cover for the loading portion. So the brass we're using is a batch of brass that we formed. It's all Lake City 556 that's been formed. We're using CCI number 41 primers. These guys have all been prepped, and they're completely ready to rock. Just need powder and bullet. So if you need more detail about that stuff, we've covered it all here. Just check the playlists. But what I found when I was loading up the initial test rounds, and actually this was true for both bullets, the Lehigh and the Maker. The first few bullets I tried to seat, I was scraping a little bit of copper. So what I had to do was grab, you can't even see the press. See, I'm never prepared. There we go. Alright, so I went ahead and grabbed my my Lee Universal Expanding die and went ahead and belled the mouth on these just a little bit, which actually these I haven't done yet. Not a ton, but a little. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you an up close look here at kind of how much I did. So it's a fair amount, I would say, but nothing crazy. You know, it doesn't look like a freaking trumpet or anything, but it is definitely expanded a bit, and that kind of made me worry a little bit that, you know, the copper might just be soft. So on our crimp die, our Lee Factory crimp die that we're using, I went ahead and backed it off a little bit to where it's pretty darn light. All it's really doing is removing that that expansion from the case mouth. So I actually have a video that we started at the beginning, before we started the bullet testing series, where we did a bunch of crimping tests. And for people who are kind of familiar with what the system I came up in that video, I'm all the way down to the first index. So very, 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 very light crimp. So we're not crimping. And when I first looked at these bullets right after I got them, I thought the top groove was a crimping groove. But as I went by Lehigh's recommended overall length, and the case mouth, should be able to show you that, is actually up a little bit higher into that band that's right above that highest groove. So I didn't want to go, crimping this thing in like crazy and possibly running into issues of deforming the bullet. So, yep, if you're gonna do these, I definitely suggest grabbing a universal expanding die and keeping the crimp pretty darn light. So I need to run through these guys and expand the mouth on all of them, and then I'll be ready to start dumping powder. So with powder, we'll be hand trickling every charge and using our Gem Pro 250 to get them as close as humanly possible with the equipment on hand. So that's what's going on. Alright, just weighed out our first 5 here, 10.6 grains of 1680. As I mentioned, I did weight sort these, but once I didn't really weight sort them, I weighed them all, but once I was done with that, they all just went back in the box. That may not have been the smartest thing. It probably would have been smart to go ahead and sort them by weight, but whatever. Alright, we are using a Forster Ultra Micrometer seating die. And let's see, let's get this guy set. Like I said, that flare makes all the difference. Just a little bit of flare there and makes seating a whole lot easier, and we don't get any copper shavings as we go. So that is a very, very good thing. And we are 107 thousandths long, so let's go down 100. Okay, that's 100. Yep, looks about right. 2.190, so that guy's 10 thousandths long. Go ahead and seed a couple of them here. Before I make another adjustment. 2.190. We're on the money. Okay, let's just go ahead and go down 10 thousandths. .179. Close enough. And actually I should probably do like a 90-degree turn and a second seating. A lot of times that'll 2.179. Go ahead, hit that guy one more time. And while we're at it, go ahead and hit the factory crimp die. As I mentioned, very light. The one on the right has been crimped, the one on the left has not. Or hang on, did I just screw that up? Yeah, I think the one on the left was crimped. And it's so light you can't really tell. So let me run them both back through the crimp die. But you get the idea, right? I'm just crimping enough to get that get rid of the flare, and that is it. That one felt a little bit, it was a little hard to get going, but still no shaved copper that I can see. Seat this last guy and then we'll measure them all and see what sort of consistency we get with overall length. .183, 2.182. 2.189, 2.179, so these are a little bit all over the place. I didn't notice this on the previous loadings. Let me have a quick look. Interesting. Let me run these long guys back through the seating die one more time, just for the heck of it here, just to .188. I think that's just a thing, apparently. Might just have to keep an eye on this as we go through the next few rows here. .182. Yeah, this guy here at 2.188. That's pretty interesting. Tell you, that's what I'll do. So I'll move forward, get the next row of charges weighed, and then we'll do this same exercise on the next row because that's a little bit more than I generally like to see. Alright, so I just see these next 5. Let's have a look and see what they are. 2.183, 2.180, 2.178, 2.179, and 2.180. So a few thousandths variation. I guess that one that was 2.188, you know, hopefully it was a fluke. You know, just one bullet that happened to be a little longer than the others, maybe. I don't know. Alright, so I just need to keep on keeping on here, weighing out all these charges. So I will see you guys as I finish up, probably. Alright, that is it. We've got 60 rounds ready to go. About $100. So yeah, let's get out there to the range and see how they shoot. Alright, so it's finally time to see how these guys are going to shoot. We're in the backyard here. Got a target out there at about, it's right about 70 yards. It's actually like 68 yards maybe, something like that. And we are back here. Yeah, here's us. We've got, I'm going to be shooting off a bipod. Got my GG&G bipod. Got a rear bag. Usually makes for a pretty stable rest. This is what we've been using for all of our 300 blackout bullet testing, and it's worked out pretty well. So we got rained out last weekend, so had to wait a week before we could shoot here. But beautiful day today. Partly cloudy, temperature in the 80s, a little bit muggy, you know, high humidity, but that's okay. And it's time to get started. So let me get everything situated and we'll see how these guys shoot. Alright, so we're starting with our 16-inch gun, obviously. Our first load is 10.6 grains of accurate 1680. These accurate 1680 loads should run the gun just fine. I don't expect any function issues whatsoever. Is a little bit of gusty wind, but I've got a ton of time. So I'm gonna have, you know, I'm gonna take my time, make every shot count, wait out the wind when necessary, and hopefully we should be able to shoot some good groups. So let's get started. I did shoot a few practice rounds through the gun with some other bullets just to, you know, warm up the barrel a little bit, make sure everything was looking okay before we got started here. So here we go, 10.6 grains. Interesting. Huh, the next round didn't load. So we kind of had a failure to feed. That's surprising. Our velocity is a little bit low. That first shot was 995 feet per second, so that helps to get it in all the way. I don't know if this magazine's getting a little bit janky on me or what. If that happens again, I'll go grab another magazine. All right, that's not a bad start. Velocity a little bit low. Standard deviation a little bit gross. But the group wasn't too bad. Okay, 10.8 grains. All right, could be worse. Velocity spread's a little gross and the groups are a little bit gross. It's not awful. Okay, 11 grains. Wow, that was super. 1136. Boy, let's hope Winchester 296 is going to give us better velocity. These were pretty gross and the group showed it. Our first Winchester 296 load is 8.7 grains. Let's hope this tightens up this standard deviation a little bit, because 1680 was pretty disappointing, to be honest. See what they do. Nope, that really isn't any better. So we didn't lock the bolt back. That's no surprise. If your gun has pistol gas with a 16-inch barrel, you'll lock the bolt back. But carbine gas, Winchester 296 just didn't the right powder. But, yeah, crap. 42.8 standard deviation. Just nasty. Looks like most of that comes from the first shot, which was 1,037 feet per second, and then all the others were down in the 900s. Okay, next up is 8.9 grains. Alright, so that was a little bit better. Got her standard deviation below 20 at least. Looks like this next load, 9.1 grains, might be just about perfect on velocity. Let's hope. Okay, 9.1. All right, that wasn't bad. Good velocity. Looks like that's probably going to be our best group. So, yeah, a little bit disappointed with the group size, but what can you do? All right, let's get switched over to the 8.5-inch SBR and see what it makes of them. This guy generally shoots a little bit better than the SBR, so I'm afraid it might be ugly. I don't know. All right, time for our 8.5-inch SBR. Our first load of accurate 1680 is going to be 10.8 grains. I'm wondering if these are going to be slow. Just looking at, yeah, whatever. We'll find out. But tell you, I'm filming all of this, you know, in parallel with the Maker. I think I've mentioned multiple times. The Maker bullet shot a lot better with the 16-inch gun than these guys did, so I'm a little bit shocked by that. We'll see if the same trend continues here with the 8.5. All right, 10.8 grains. Let's get started. Not too bad. Standard deviation is not terrible, 12.3. Okay, 11 grains. Yeah, no, this is more like it. Good looking groups. Velocity was good. Boy, I don't know why. I guess maybe something with my 16-inch barrel. Just didn't dig these bullets, but yeah, these are off to a good start. So the gun's shooting a little bit high and I'm about to run out of paper, so I hate to do this right in the middle of this, but I'm going to move my scope down. Yeah, like 6 clicks. All right. Okay, 11.2 grains of 1680. All right, good to go. Okay, our first load of Winchester 296 is 8.8 grains. All right, that was a good start with Winchester 296 at a 1,019 feet per second average. You know, it's functioning the gun very well. And you know, with pistol gas like this has, you're going to be fine. So, yeah, if you've got a 16-inch barrel with pistol gas, you're good to go. Don't let my function issues scare you. All right, 9 grains is next. Nice, really nice. Outstanding velocity, outstanding standard deviation, and an outstanding group. That's a pretty good candidate for our winning load right there. All right, last up, 9.2 grains of 296. All right, group opened up a little bit on that last one there, but that's all right. We've got a whole bunch of others that did just great. So, all right, let me get packed up. Let's get back to the bench, have a look at some updated charts that show our velocities here and pick out some winning loads, talk about what we've learned. Well, the results are certainly interesting. No doubt about it. A little bit weird. And yeah, I'll tell you what, let's start off, let's look at some updated velocity charts. And yeah, we'll do them in the order we shot them. Here we go, 16-inch barrel with accurate 1680. Just gross. You know, our standard deviations were 28.6, 29.9, and 32.5. So we were in the right velocity range, right? We guessed our charge weight correctly, but they just, this bullet in this gun, just something wrong. Just something very wrong about it. And this is a good shooting gun. This gun has been shooting better than my 8.5-inch gun in every one of the other videos. It shot as good or better than the 8.5-inch. So it's not that cheap barrel. It's just something weird going on here. Alright, let's move on to our second guy, which was the 16-incher with Winchester 296. Our two higher loads, you know, 8.9 grains and 9.1 grains, were the best. But like that 8.7, just look, it's just gross. Nasty. So our standard deviation numbers were 42.8, 17.2, and then 12.1. So that highest group of 5 there was our best at 12.1. Okay, moving along to our 8.5-inch. Things got a little bit better. Yep, so velocity was good, and actually, you know, back to that Winchester 296 load with the 16-inch, we were right in the wheelhouse as far as velocity went as well. And same story here with the 8.5-inch with accurate 1680. Much better standard deviation numbers, much better. 12.3, 5.7, and 11.6. So those, you know, shots are grouped much closer together, and we were right on top of it as far as velocity goes. Looks like 11.1 probably would have been the ideal 1050 load, but yep, 11.2 was an average of 1063, so that's good. That's good to go. All right, Winchester 296 with the 8.5. Yep, more of the same. Good looking shots. That one little guy way down there at the bottom at 9.2 grains, I don't know what that was. I don't know if that's a charge that I screwed up when I was weighing it. Maybe it was a grain low or something like that, because that was the only goofy shot out of this barrel and this powder out of all of them. So a little bit weirded out by that guy, but I'm just going to call it an anomaly and forget about it and just assume that you know, everything else represents reality. So really good numbers. Outstanding standard deviation numbers of 14.7, 7.2, and then yep, the gross one at 43.7 that got screwed up by that low guy. So we were right on top of. Looks like 9.1 grains is pretty much perfect. Okay. Well, our groups. Let's start out with the 16-incher, where our velocity was gross and our groups were kind of gross. Honestly, whenever I started measuring them, they're a little bit better than I thought out on the range. 1.47 inches there, our first group, that was the best one. And then, 2.4, 2.4, 2, 2.4, and 1.9. So, Our quarterback is not throwing spirals. Right? What we saw close, in our initial close ones, it carries out here even all the way to long range. The holes just are not perfectly round. They've got that little bit of skid mark on one side. I've seen this with, especially with cast bullets. It seems to do this a lot. Heavy cast bullets and 300 blackout seem to do this a lot so far. I haven't shot a lot of them. I'm still relatively new to 300 blackout. Still trying to get my feet under me here, but been seeing this, and it. Yep. So, to be honest, bullets flying like that, I'm surprised they grouped this well. So they're not too bad. So we need to pick a winner out of this dumpster fire, and yep. So looking at velocity, our closest velocities, that guy was average of 1,048 feet per second. Yep, with a 29.9 feet per second standard deviation. Kind of a gross group. It was trying to group, kind of had that one guy out there that ruined it a little bit. Our other candidate would be this guy, which was 1,067 feet per second. The group was pretty good. Not quite as good as that first guy, but 1.9 inches. The standard deviation of 12.1 is what I like. So I think we're going to call this the winner for this gun, for the 16-incher. 9.1 grains of Winchester 296. So we have function issues, right? We don't like the bolt back, but we know that's just because of the carbine gas. So we're going to forgive it that and choose it anyway. And we give those purple circles. There it is. That is our winner for the 16-incher. Okay, now to the 8.5, where things were much more satisfactory. Groups of, 1.7, 0.9, 1.2, 1.6, 1 inch, and 2.1. Much better. Still a little bit. Let me see if I can find one. It's not quite as bad. Well, okay, you look at this, this really nice group that looked like it had a lot of potential. The one guy that was out, has a little skid mark. So it wasn't nearly as bad as that 16-inch target, but it still wasn't perfect. And we go back. Remember this target from like a freaking hour ago? The 8.5-inch holes looked better than the 16-inchers close, so it's no surprise that we see the same thing at long distance, and it shot better groups. So pretty darn impressive out of the SBR. Our candidates would be this guy, 1,063 feet per second, with an 11.6 feet per second standard deviation, 1.21 inch group. Not bad shooting. And down here, I guess, so this guy's 1,045 feet per second. This guy's 1,060 feet per second. Both are pretty darn good. Except that guy, had the one goofy shot, which gave it a crazy standard deviation. What won our other one? Alright, so Winchester 296 won our other guy. So maybe we'll pick an accurate 1680 on this guy, because it's pretty close, right? Both of them around an inch. Probably 11.1 would have really been perfect. But I'll tell you what, we'll call that guy the winner. 1,063 feet per second in a 1.2 inch group. That's not bad shooting, so that's the one we will give the circle. So the plan is now I'm going to load up 10 of these, and I'm going to load up 10 of these, and then that's what we'll take on to the next video, where we shoot these guys up against the Maker Rex and we shoot them into some ballistic gel and see what they'll do. And I've got a groundhog that moved into my garage. I just spotted him today. That might be our first kill. If we can spot him, maybe we can get him in the next video. So yeah, I'm happy with those loads. I'm a little bit disappointed with how it performed in our 16-inch gun, but you know, what can you do? Some guns just don't like certain bullets. That's reloading. That's just how it goes. That's shooting. And the bizarre part about it is with the Makers, it's exactly opposite. My 8.5-inch gun hated those bullets. Shot terrible. 16-inch gun shot awesome. So it was completely reversed. I'm not sure why that would be. I think there is a little bit of difference in their diameter. The Makers are more like 309, and the Lehighs are about 308. So maybe the bigger bullet, you know? I don't know. Maybe it's the barrel length, you know, with the different bearing surfaces of the two bullets. Maybe just, you know, the Lehigh liked one, the Maker liked the other. You know, that's just kind of, that's how it goes sometimes. I wanted to buy some of their factory ammo. You know, Lehigh sells factory ammo, but it's like 50 something bucks for 20. After spending, you know, 150 bucks on bullets, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to buy a box of the factory ammo, but I would be really interested to find out how they shot in these guns when compared to the handlers we worked up. I would be interested to find out how it functioned with some other powders. You know, maybe it's a fast powder, slow powder thing. Like, you know, or yeah, I don't know. That's the problem with reloading. You never get any questions answered. All you do is just come up with more questions. So, you know, that's how it is. Alright, I think I've rambled enough. Where are we at? Like a little over an hour probably for this video. Whatever. I think we got our money's worth, right? So, that's just the way it is. So, I will see you guys. So, next video will actually be the Maker video. And, yep, those are shot. We're editing those at the exact same time we're editing this one. And then the next video after that will be the ballistic gel tests and accuracy tests between the two. So I will see you guys next time.